Hello, everyone. This is Ted with Oaxray, and today I want to talk about the recent suspensions going on in early 2017. I was thinking about someone I used to know in the past who sold books, and I remember them telling me a long time ago, I remember them actually telling me that they would go to thrift stores, purchase books on the shelf, clean them up nice and spiffy, and then resell them to the public as new books. And this was like 6 years ago. And I remember thinking to myself, that's got to be some kind of fraud or, something just wrong about that. Taking an item that is used, that has writing on it, using an eraser to remove the items. Finally, Amazon is actually waking up to this trend. And I know that some sellers, there's actually a book that I remember, and it recommended that people do this. So Amazon is finally cracking down on this practice, it looks like. So if you're selling books on Amazon, times are a-changin'. Do not put in books as new, especially if you're getting them from a thrift store, because your thrift store receipt does not have a UPC on it. It doesn't have a description of the book on it. And really, there's no way for Amazon with a good sense to tell if the item is authentic or even if it is a new book. And if you show them a thrift store receipt, they're automatically going to say it was from a thrift store, automatically put it as used like new if it is in like new condition. So I know that some people are freaking out, but this is actually a good thing. It actually cleans up the Amazon catalog and is going to make it so that people who are selling used books, they're not selling these used books to unexpected people who are expecting to get a brand new book. And one thing I've heard is, well, if I get it at the thrift store and it's shrink wrapped, then I'm sure that it's new. And really, it's not the case. And the reason for that is there's a bookstore near me that shrinks wrap their used books because they sell online and they want the book to be protected. So all it takes is for someone from one of the bookstores where they're shrink wrapping things before they're shipping it out, for that to go to a customer and the customer never opening it, donating it to a thrift store. And all of a sudden, now you have a used book. Maybe it was graded as used like new, or maybe it had some underlining or whatever. You pick it up, you say, oh, this must be a new book because it's wrapped up properly, so it must be a new book. And you send it out to the customer. That's why you cannot expect that a new item is going to be at a thrift store. Now, the good news is that I've heard from a couple people this weekend, or at least one who was actually suspended for an item they bought at Walmart over the Christmas. They were actually able to use their Walmart receipt to prove authenticity. Now, I'm hearing mixed results on this. Some people say if they get an inauthentic claim, they're easily able to use a receipt. Other people have said that certain stores are restricted. If it's a store like TJ Maxx or kind of one of those stores that's like a discount store where it could be from liquidation or things like that, then it might not be accepted. So that is what I am hearing out there in the groups. I've spoken to a few people. I'm still kind of getting mixed signals on this. Amazon has really not come out and said which way they want it, because in my opinion, a lot of sales are coming from retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. So maybe they're waiting to announce it, or maybe they will never announce any change to the policy. Right now, as far as I'm aware, there's one mention of retail, or actually buying from retailers, and that is in the drop shipping policy, in which they say you cannot drop ship. So for everybody to keep their accounts safe, as of now, today is January 23rd, 2017. If you have a book and you're purchasing it from a thrift store, you cannot verify the chain of custody of where that item came from. They're telling you, from what I've seen, the 4 or 5 people who've been suspended in these groups, is don't sell the item new because it is not new. Now, someone asked me, how can they track who is a real reseller and who's not a real reseller? Now, from my limited experience in programming and kind of building programs and things like that, I have learned that you can create an algorithm, especially in this situation, to easily catch people who are gaming the system. Pretty easy. Now, let's just think about the pattern of a wholesaler. Whenever I have a wholesale account, generally I buy a bunch of items from that supplier. Let's say I'll buy 20 of this book, 20 of this book, 20 of these, and I'll have minimum quantities for each item that I buy generally. So they look at my account and they say, okay, his average item sent in per ASIN is 20. Most likely, he's probably getting those wholesale, because that's how I send in items for wholesale. They'd be coming to me case packed, and then I would separate them, but I would send in dozens of items at a time. Now let's look at the buying habits of someone going into a thrift store. You generally go in, you have zero idea how many books you're going to find, but generally they're not going to be the same book. You're going to find one good Grisham book, you're going to find another good Harry Potter book, and then you're just going to find a whole bunch of different quantities of items. So maybe most of your items you're going to have a quantity of one. So it's going to be pretty easy for Amazon to say, okay, this person is buying in groups of 20, 30, 40 per ASIN. This person over here is buying in groups of 1 per ASIN. It's a pretty high likelihood that if they're both selling new items, one is selling from a wholesaler and one is buying the stuff from either a thrift store or some kind of method. And they're going to say, show me your receipts or show me your documentation that that's a real item. The thing about a thrift store receipt is it doesn't even tell you generally. I've been to stores and it just says bric-a-brac for what the book is. So there's no way that you can actually track down anything about the item. So at this point, if you're out there thrifting and you find a new item, you're not going to be able to support that with that receipt that you generally will get from a thrift store and prove that the item is not counterfeit or prove that the item is actually in new condition. So keep that in mind while you're out there thrifting. Thank you guys very much. Have a great day and make some money using Oaxray. Please like and subscribe. And if you have a question about Amazon, put a comment down below and I'll make a video about it as soon as I can.